7:37, and we're calling this meeting to order. I will mention that this is not a standard meeting. We do not have quorum, but we are going to be discussing issues, and so it is a study session. With that, I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I do know that Christine sends her regrets. She's got some issues that came up, and so she's fully excused for this evening. And again, that's the reason that we do not have quorum over here tonight. I do not know about our other members. I'll reach out to them at a future date. But again, we haven't met in a while, so I thought it would be good for us to meet, discuss some issues, and develop a plan for moving forward on this, on the various issues. So I do have a list before me as far as our BPAC activities. I can run that down, or if there's something that somebody wants to begin speaking about, we can also do that.
I do have one item. So I talked to Eric Antelak from Downriver Link Greenways. Yep, and just about the construction timeline for the Bellevue connector. They said they're still working through the Act 51 items with their coalition, so it has not gone out for RFP yet. So I don't think we'll see any construction in 2024 and probably not even spring 2025. So I just want to provide that update. And then the other thing that I think we are going to need to start talking about soon, because it's going to involve other echelons of government, is our plan for the chunk of Bellevue that didn't get a trail, right? And we've talked about closing parts of the road, doing a single lane, potentially re-engineering it, maybe the township throwing in on having it constructed through that section. So I know I talked with Jay Frucci. He was amiable to start having some meetings, and he's on planning. So it would be helpful, I think, to maybe schedule a sit down with him and just kind of see where he's at now too, and then provide him that update, right? That we're not looking to do any construction until probably 2025.
Yeah, I did speak with Mr. Frucci last month because I am on the planning commission as well. So I just we didn't discuss very much. Just said, hey, I know that we talked about meeting, and are you still amenable to that? And he's like, absolutely.
Okay.
So I believe he's just waiting on us to set up a meeting in that regard. I think that it's definitely time to to start talking about this. I will mention as well as that recently I did attend a planning conference and did see some other types of traffic bollards that could be used against ones that lower raise and lower. And so there's a variety of ways that again, if we decide to go ahead with closing part or fully closing Bellevue in certain sections, that we can move ahead. Personally, I would like to see a trial where maybe we start with some cones and some flower pots or something like that, and see how it goes.
I really like, and this is more complex than just what I like, but I really like the idea of a linear park there. Mm-hmm. I think it's really the perfect area for it because you've got the country club there, and then you've got Water's Edge, plus the trail's going to be coming through. So it really creates the opportunity for us to do a legitimate outdoor park, right? And there's nowhere, at least that I'm aware of, in Grosse Ile where you can go to a park and there's grass and some grills and some picnic tables and things like that. So I think there's an opportunity there, but obviously it takes more discussion and whatnot. But
in the short term, I'm not so sure about the grass function.
Well, there's a bunch of pavement there right now, I suppose. Yeah,
we could throw out some AstroTurf if that helps.
Yeah, I also thought about a skate park or a bike park too, because there already is pavement there. So, so I think there's a lot of options there. I guess we need to get into those discussions.
So would you say that you'd like to take the lead on putting that meeting together, or would you like me to? Or?
No, I can do it. I already sent him an email like a month ago, asked him if he was amenable to start meeting. I think I CC'd you. Might have been 2 months ago now. I'll just follow up, and maybe I'm sure, Jay's offered to host meetings at the country club before, so I'm sure we could just meet him up there and walk around and talk about things, and so I'll set that up.
Next I have on the agenda would be the agenda on my list over here. Gibraltar Bay Connector. I know that we successfully completed the beginning of that project. We did have a ribbon cutting for it. I think it might be good to go in and see like how things are going. Kind of like look to see if there's any need for any additional items like within the trail itself. I know that the Detroit International Wildlife Refuge did reach out to me and ask about future plans for it, like would we want it paved or things of that nature. And so it might be good to have a meeting with them just as far as potential coordination as well.
One thing I did notice, because I've been down it a handful of times and my kids use it occasionally, is, and I wouldn't expect a township employee to do this, but maybe, I don't know, if we could find people that might sponsor chunks of trail or even that particular trail, because it does seem to collect a little bit of garbage.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have been down there lately. You run into chip bags and Gatorade bottles and snack wrappers and stuff, or I don't know, maybe BPAC can organize a trail cleanup once a year or something, but that would be the only, I guess, aesthetic concern I've noticed lately.
Yeah.
So
It was either Rotary or Kiwanis, like they do like an Earth Day cleanup, and like
Yeah,
in
they
the
both
past
do.
they've done stuff on the paths, so that might be an opportunity to ask as well. Because while I'm like definitely not against us, doing it ourselves or like sponsoring our own event, it might be nice to have it a couple times a year, so that way we keep it spick and span.
yeah.
Brian, I have a question for you. On our new link down to the Wildlife Center, the entrance to it might be a good place to put a good large trash can.
That's a-
If you don't have a place to put it, it's gonna be on the ground.
That's true.
Hey Wes.
And I'll follow up on that. I'll go to GPS and see if they've got one even put there, but it's just gonna help that problem. And maybe we can even consider it at the end of the trail.
So you're saying like one up near Grow and then another one near
Yeah.
the Wildlife Refuge itself?
Yeah, the trash cans are well needed, especially if you're walking, you don't want to carry it, or riding a bike.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Maybe that'll be all the difference we need right there.
I guess I don't think we have many trash cans in most places on the paths. I figured maybe like near the churches where they are along
And
there.
there's trash can at Meridian by the police station,
Mhm.
Grosse Hill Parkway, Meridian School. There's one up by church.
Yeah, it'd be good to know like who's taking care of those specifically. Is it DPS? And if so,
Yeah.
like is it just a request that like, hey, we put those out there and like they might be able to take care of them? If
Yeah,
it's
they
an
drive by the-
extension of too much labor or something like that, like hey, we manage what we got, but we can't expand, then looking elsewhere for getting it done. But yeah, hopefully putting out a couple cans can be the difference between garbage on the ground or not.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna talk to DPS about that, Ellen?
I will go over there and talk to them
Okay.
and see if they have one, and then I'll report back, and maybe we can come up with a plan.
Yeah, I think that's probably the simplest.
Or
And
even start a volunteer program where they adopt a can and they can put flowers around it. And,
adopt a can. I like that.
keep it up, keep it good looking. I noticed that some of the cans on Macomb Street are well past their expected life, and they're starting to
Mhm.
deteriorate a little bit. But they put those out there probably more than 20 years ago.
Are they that old?
Yeah.
I heard Ross saying that they were looking to do something consistent throughout the entire DDA. So they're probably looking into new ones in that area.
When you say they've deteriorated, but the color and paint. and
Yeah,
stuff,
all the
just-
finishes coming on that, and the benches are too, but, you know,
Oh,
it's
no.
just with age.
Those things could be very easily blasted and you go paint on it.
You know, the board sides, the rail sides they have on some of them are just so deteriorated they're falling off. So to consider a new trash can, also one that is maintenance free and has a good longevity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'd be good, like, if we do need something new, and that's something that we don't have, is one, like, ask Ross and the DDA what their, if they have plans, and maybe being consistent with what they have. If that's not in our budget or something like that. I know Downriver Link Greenways also had all sorts of branding stuff for theirs. So I can't recall if I said it at a past meeting, but we do have our wayfinding signs up along the path right by Meridian and Macomb Street. And then I believe that there's another one down Bellevue and West River area.
Yeah.
For like the future sidewalk that will be going in there. So like
There's
that's part
also-
of that branding effort.
You mentioned the one at Meridian too.
Yeah, Meridian and Macomb.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's signage down at West River Ramp and West River too, on the hill there.
Yeah.
It's quite new.
So those are nice, and I know once the sidewalk goes in, I believe that they're supposed to put down some of the confidence markers on the actual path, just like it's a thermoplastic that goes down, and like it just has the wayfinding associated with it. So, okay, it sounds like we have a couple different options for trash cans. Anything else on the Gibraltar Bay connector?
The only other thing I was thinking was we've got the bike repair station up by the police station. You know, and I know people really enjoy it. I mean, I see the kids using it all the time. I actually had to stop by and show one of the kids the difference between the Schrader valve and the other one because he's like, this doesn't work, and I was like, it's okay, man, just use the other one. So I don't know. I don't know if we have. I think we had access to another one, right? Didn't we just discuss a second bike repair station?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that. Let's see
Maybe
what
we
we found.
could. Maybe I can dig into that. Because what I was thinking, it might be a good idea to put one at the south end of the island too. So
I could see like where it might be nice to have one again at the wildlife refuge.
well, that's what I was kind of thinking
Yeah.
because it's the terminus of the trail.
Yeah.
You know, if you got a flat or you lose your chain down at that end, you're pretty much out there. And I guess as much wilderness as Grosse Ile has to offer. So.
I could see over here at Township Hall. That might be another.
Oh, that's a good idea too. Okay, I'll find out about that.
I think it'd just be good to site them at locations where there's generally people. Like there might be someone taking care of the property in that area already too.
Right.
So it's just it's easier to keep an eye on the actual equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize for coming in late, but what's been the final determination on this path? We come down to the Country Club's property and we terminate. I've heard multiple different things from Jameson of what was being considered. Are we going any farther with this?
So the agreement and the resolution the board passed has the trail coming from Meridian, going to essentially the part of the edge of their parking lot, right? Terminating there and then restarting, I want to say about 80, I'd have to look at the plans to give you the exact frontage, but about,
Starting at their other tee at the other end of the.
yeah, not quite the limit of their property, but getting in that direction, right? And I think at that tee they hit from west to east, so
Sides of the road.
yeah, so it made sense to kind of put it further up there so people weren't in the ball strike projection. And then we're going to have to come up with the solution for that chunk that's missing in the middle. You know, we've kind of discussed Sharrow on the side of Bellevue, potentially closing a lane, shutting the whole road, re-engineering a trail on the edge of the road, you know, like an extended shoulder. So we just haven't really figured out exactly how we want to do it yet. So.
So as of right now, it's dead in the water until.
Well, that-
I'm sure they start breaking ground and start putting the path in there.
So it's not dead in the water, we just need to plan what we want.
Yeah, the other portions of the trail are happening.
Right.
So just that one section isn't until we figure out how we want to do it. You know, we were talking earlier, that's kind of we need to work with the country club on it, be good neighbors. So we're going to start having meetings with Jay, the current president, and I'll reach out to him and set something up. So.
Well, there used to be some trees along the edge of the property, which was taken down. We're getting some more green belt of some sort put back up there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, there's a handful of trees in the engineering, but given where their downriver linked greenways isn't paving that center section, I don't think they're going to put trees in it either. You know, we'll have to come up with a plan for that. So.
Well, I guess I was more along thinking of, okay, the country club took the trees down. Some were looking pretty bad, some were still alive, but they were scrawny. I'm thinking, why not as part of the negotiation stuff, we're gonna have to have this path connected, otherwise it's not doing anything.
Mm.
And since we're not putting a path in there, we're looking at possibly being in the road. Being in the road or being on the shoulder of the road, golf balls coming across with no barrier is coming across. So how about some more green belt of some sort to try to knock it off?
Okay. We can add that as a discussion item for our meetings with them.
On one end, you know, we're looking at, you know, having a linear park.
I think that's really the makes the most sense. The collapsible, removable ballards have come a long ways in the last couple of years. They don't get stuck in the sleeves anymore. There's some fold down ones, etc. That keep the fire chief and stuff happy that the road will be accessible if they need it.
Yeah.
But have it down.
Yeah, so, I mean, as far as I understand, everything's on the table with the country club, like, they would seem to be okay with that. I think, again, talking with Water's Edge and then talking with the township, making sure that we're all united on a decision, which way we'd like to go, and then, you know, working with Wayne County. And so, like, yeah, there's steps involved. I mean, it's not gonna be happening tomorrow.
No.
But it's nothing is dead at this point.
And again, I apologize for not coming in. When are they supposed to be breaking ground and start putting that path in?
So currently they are pending posting their RFP, so I don't think we'll see any action until 2025.
Possible. I mean, if they post it in the next 30 days, you can still have a fall project.
Yeah, it's just a whole regional project, so it's going
Yeah.
to depend on what, you know, whether they start with Grow Seal or end with Grow Seal,
Okay.
you know, because they're trying to save money with mobilization costs by kind of moving the project around as they
Yeah.
do it. So
Multiple
we
site-
could,
It's a
yeah.
multiple site
Yeah.
proposal.
Yeah, we could be, I mean, we might be the first part of it, you know, maybe they'll work from east to west or, yeah, so.
And I can tell you that they're also looking at, you know, filling other gaps and looking for additional funding sources for other projects, like within, like, the Downriver Link Greenways. So, it seems like they're going full speed ahead and, like, really trying to transform this area. So, want to give them a, you know,
Well, I think
kudos.
there's some state level emphasis on it, so, which helps.
Mhm.
Not that bicycles are a way concern on our county bridge, but are they expressing any concern with the bridge being up in the air about what they're doing with it?
Is Wayne County expressing a
No,
concern?
it is the Greenbelt, the Greenways directors and stuff.
Not that I've heard. I don't know if you've no.
No.
I mean, ultimately, if they build another bridge, the only place it really makes sense to do it is at the end of Bellevue. You know, if we're gonna keep our current bridge and they're gonna build a new bridge, it's Bellevue is the spot. So I think it would probably be an alright connection anyway. So,
They could also put it pretty much right alongside that one with a couple of little chicanes in there to kick over and come back over.
Yeah. I think point being is right now it's like we got the bridge that we do. And we're still trying to find funds in order to do all the rehab for that bridge. And that's, from what I understand, like that'll give us 10, 20 years, I don't know, maybe a little more. So it's like a new bridge is probably, 30 years away. I mean, this is just me, just Brian Pollock over here, just, come up with something. Not speaking for the township in any stretch of the imagination or Wayne County. Just point is that it's far away.
yeah. Well, I mean, you go to war with the army you got, not the army you want. So I guess we just need to plan against our current situation, not, theoreticals, I suppose.
I guess if there is any conversations about actually
Yeah. I mean, we can talk to the
I don't think
board.
there's any real discussions
Probably
about
not yet. I
putting
mean,
in a new
if
bridge
it
right
happens,
now.
Jameson, if it's-
Yeah.
if they
Wayne
start
County
talking about a
bridge.
new bridge.
But if they start talking about it, I'll definitely advocate for a separate protected bike lane
Yeah.
for sure.
So-
Cross that bridge when we get to it.
Ba-dum-bum.
We'll cross that bridge when they build it.
Just one personal anecdote is that, working with Wayne County, like they've been really good about being proactive, similar to many other road agencies now. They see like where if they're coming in with a bridge, that's a once in a lifetime thing that they do. And so they're being much more proactive in saying, hey, is this something where we need to add in, bicycle and pedestrian connections? I know that, Wayne County, reached out to me with my day job and, for a road in Dearborn specifically asked about it. I worked with Wayne County and the city of Trenton on the West Road Bridge, which like they're going to be getting a new bridge over there, and that's going to include bicycle and pedestrian amenities.
Okay.
So I think, first of all, there's good people over there working at this and being proactive, plus having a connection, a sidewalk on Groseal Parkway in the city of Trenton, and then having our sidewalk and shared use path in Groseal that connects in. Like that's just like seals the deal. It's like, hey, we've got everything. The bridge is the gap. If we're getting a new bridge, you really should be putting it in.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving along, and in the past we discussed a brochure. So it's like BPAC had put together a brochure in the past that talked about a lot of, well, first and foremost, about our bicycle paths and like the other bicycling amenities that we had. It talked about some programs, and it pointed out some of the great sights to see on Groseal. And so we published that. We got kudos from real estate firms and such. And I know that there had been discussion at this board, this commission, about potentially creating another brochure. I didn't know if that's something that we would still want to pursue anytime soon.
I like the idea of the brochure. I think I would want it to be partnered with maybe DDA and Rec, especially because we don't have a dedicated township employee. So having those departments' township employees draft it, I think would be, would mean that we're not doing it as a commission, right? Nobody wants to make a brochure by committee. But also, it gives them some buy-in too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I'm kind of exceeding the BPAC mandate a little bit, but the fact that we don't have a Chamber of Commerce with a brochure anyway is kind of crazy. So maybe we've been avoiding commerce all this time.
Yeah. Brian, what do you think about an electronic brochure that we could attach to our link, the township link to BPAC?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that. There's something to be said about having something in hand that
Yes,
folds
I agree
out.
totally.
But If you do that, so you can have the electronic version as well.
Yeah, if we did a brochure, we could, have the PDF as well, but then we could give it to the realtors, right? Give it to the bike shops off island, the ice cream places, maybe some of the other places along the trail. I don't know, probably wouldn't even be a bad idea to maybe put some in a little box at the wayfinding sign for Grosse Ile Parkway and Jefferson, like, hey, if you turn right here, best ice cream on the island. So,
Well, that's what people really want. They want a simple, used directory.
yeah, I like it. I'll get a hold of Ross and Zaid and see if they're interested in working together on something.
Next on my list here, I have Glow Roll and the Witch Ride, which, those are two bicycling-centric events that we've assisted with in the past. As far as I know, there's no real initiative to get Glow Roll going again. I've talked with a few people that might be interested. I know Christine has worked with the Witches of Grosse Ile for like the Halloween ride close by. But the good thing is that there is another person that on her own has started a group ride specifically for women of Grosse Ile. And so like they meet every Thursday and they do a group ride. I believe they change locations and like they're always looking for hosts on that. But it's good that that's happening organically. And if there's ways for us to promote that, I think that would be great.
Do you know what it's called? Or like the Facebook group or whatever?
I'll tell you in just a second here.
Okay.
A couple times it's starting right near our house and like
Oh, yeah.
driving by or biking by, but like as a male, I am not invited.
That's fine. Men are overrepresented in cycling anyway.
Put on wigs and all sorts of fun, goofy stuff. I apologize. I'm gonna have to get it for you in a minute.
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe shoot it to me later.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Next on the list, I have the newsletter. So I know in the past, I haven't seen one recently, but I know that Jameson, I think that you've contributed to like a Grosse Ile newsletter. I know that Supervisor Bundy does as well, and he offered.
Let me see when the last one was published. If you approached Derek about it, I'm confident he would let you publish in the newsletter. It's commission and employee centric. It's not really for elected officials. It's for the people who are really doing the work, right? The commissions and the employees. So
Good to know. So it's more like, hey, we can read it and hear what's going on with DPS, or
yeah, and if there's some system or process you're concerned about, right? Like you're like, hey, we really think the township's doing a really poor job of this, and our commission, specializes in that or whatever. I want to explain to everybody, what we should be doing. I think it's a pretty good tool. It's almost like a professional publication for island, government personnel. So
how do you get access to it? Is it like
I think it was just emailed out, but Derek was kind of putting it together. So if you get a hold of him, I think you might even reinvigorate it if they haven't published it lately. So.
Okay.
And then they're always looking for the Grosse Ile Grand is always looking for I think it's still called the Grosse Ile Grand, isn't it?
forget the
There was
names,
another
but
one
yeah.
too. But anyway, they're always looking for maybe a article from the township, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to be somebody from the board. It could be BPAC or any of the other commissions too. So
Yeah, if we've got ideas of something that we'd want to put in there, just look for, I guess, any of us on the commission that would like to write it.
yeah, I've gotten 10 trillion emails about newsletters, so it might take me a while to.
Yeah, it's not a useful keyword.
So there is, as long as we're talking about June newsletter. Yeah, so it looks like the last one I seen was June, so there should be one either coming out soon or. But let me forward this to you, Brian, so you got it. Actually, you had emailed me, so I'll just reply to you about it. There's also the Grosse Ile Minute. Have you guys ever listened to that? It's like a 1-minute podcast. I forget the name of the gentleman that does it, but it's kind of like a Grosse Ile focused, like quick chat. So I guess that would be another way to kind of talk about BPAC issues if you were looking to get some word out about things.
That's not township sponsored, that's by.
No, that's a
Individual.
yeah.
His name.
But it's kind of a cool idea, right? So. Mhm. So you could always ask him if you could, hey, you want to talk about bicycles, pedestrians, sidewalks?
Okay, next I have is signage. So again, that's like the idea of looking holistically at the path and saying, hey, there's a sign here. Does it make sense that this sign is here? Or should we remove it because in many cases, less signage is better? Or is there an area where we need more signage because, hey, maybe at one time there was a sign there and it got taken down and never got put back up? Or something has changed and now there's really a need for a sign of some sort. And then saying like, okay, what type of sign is needed? Is it a yield sign? Is it, hey, drive way ahead? Is it, a stop sign? And trying to be consistent and not overuse the stop sign, because then you've got kids seeing stop signs and blowing right through them, because it's not really practical for someone to stop at every single stop sign if you have them up all over the place. And you reserve that stop sign for when you really need it for like crossing a busy road.
You need to also make an effort to keep them uniform, so you're not second guessing the sign because it was different than the other sign.
Mm-hmm. And coupled within that, it's like you could actually look at, pavement markings and such. So it's like you could be looking at it from both the bicycle or pedestrian perspective, like the path user, but also the motorist that's along the road and going to be encountering the path. So that's something that we've had on our work order over here, but it just keeps getting kicked down the road. So
I suppose as individuals, we could do sign surveys and maybe a little bit of repair surveys, and at least be able to come back next month and be like, well, here are the real, high dollar issues. Well, maybe I shouldn't say high dollar, the significant issues. So.
Alan and Wes, how do you feel about that? Is that a
No,
high
that's-
priority thing that we should be
I
focusing on?
think that we talked about it before, is Church Road and the subdivisions that are up there. I don't go on that way very often, but I just believe we still has no signage of possible crossing there to get to the bike path, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And if the kids are gonna do that, they have one of two ways: either try to cross Meridian, or take the mountain bike wood chip trail
Mm-hmm.
that was redeveloped to go over the ferry.
Yeah, there's a couple others in there. There's the Anderson cut.
Is there an Anderson
Which-
cut in there too? Okay.
Yeah, that's like Anderson is just south of Church.
Okay.
And if you're on the path, so you're going from west to east, you cross Meridian over there.
Okay.
Less complicated because it's not an intersection, so it's easier to see if you got a gap in traffic.
Okay.
And then it's a residential roadway, so there's not as many people like traveling down there. And then there's a little like wooden cut that connects between the end of the road at Anderson with Thoroughfare.
Oh,
So that's something that we've talked about for years, is like, hey, do we make that more formal? So like, we've got that as an option. We have Church Road itself, and then farther south from Anderson and Church is the Thoroughfare entrance. So
Right.
Thoroughfare Road, where it, tees into Meridian,
right.
which that's okay, but it also has its own problems.
Yeah, when they redesigned that, they made it a little more of a blind corner.
Yeah, that's, the line of sight is not good there.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, ideally, we could figure out something right at Church, because, I mean, that's the...
Church is kind of wide open. I mean, there's not a lot of things on any of those four corners you can see pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I'd like to see, like, just a more enhanced crossing at that location. So it's like, if we put in a sidewalk, on Church Road between Thoroughfare and Meridian, have an actual, official crossing across Meridian to the path over there. But hey, putting up rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or turning that actual yellow blinking light to an activated light like we have over on Ferry now. Like, I think that could be beneficial.
Yeah, but that takes a long time to get that Wayne County to do that.
Mhm.
Maybe some signs,
Yeah.
just so.
That's why we have to get on it, though.
Bicycle crossing both ways, and some paint on Meridian itself to alert the drivers that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Ferry has an active crossing where you can activate the light. Be a little more difficult to do that at Church, that there isn't a traffic control device there now, but maybe we could do a flashing sign. I mean, that wouldn't be, we've kind of talked about it before. They're not cost prohibitive. They could be considered part of our trail maintenance. So,
I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, Ferry, before we got the new signal there, it was just the same thing as at Church. So, I think we could do that. The one issue that I was trying to argue against with Wayne County is, like, they wanted to put in center left turn lanes on Ferry. I mean, on Meridian at Ferry. And it's like, well, we don't need that part. It's like, there's not that much traffic where you need to have, widen the road.
right.
They'll probably come back and say something like that over for Church too, but you could fight them on it a little bit.
I mean, maybe I don't know if a center left turn lane's necessary. Especially on the north end of the island,
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at, is I would like to have, in an ideal world, it'd be the same thing that we have at Ferry, as far as you push a button, you actually get a signal that's, changes traffic, so that way you have a...
Is there a blinking
protected
yellow
crossing.
there at Ferry now?
There is.
Okay. All right, good. Maybe it wouldn't be that bad. Okay.
Vegetation removal, is there anything that people have seen that we should get onto DPS to say, like, hey, we need these limbs trimmed, or brush that's, like, coming across the path?
I haven't seen anything. I don't know if you guys have.
And as far as the soft paths go, like the Ferry connector, that's naturally just gonna overgrow. I don't know who's paying attention to that, but we've gotta keep that in mind too, that the soft paths have to be maintained
Mm-hmm.
for
I think
overgrowth.
Open Space has been doing a pretty good job of, putting in new wood chips. So I'd assume that if there was a lot of undergrowth, that they would be taking care of that. But
Yeah, that's open space territory.
They've used a lot of chips though, haven't they?
Yeah.
Incredible amount.
I mean, they had so many over there on Meridian the year or two before they were just telling people they could take them.
Yeah.
Next item I have is the millage. So again, being able to learn, when our millage does end for maintenance, and what's the plan if we're able to go back out.
I thought I had that somewhere. I think we need to probably have a study session about that, and really kind of figure out
for the record, we're not suggesting that we need a millage at the moment. We're just being aware that, hey, we do have an existing millage. If we want to be able to keep up with maintenance, we either need to find out what the status of that is for when it expires, or, is there other funds that we can do? Point being is that that's our single source of revenue for maintaining the paths.
Brian, what is that, a 10-year renewal on that?
I am forgetting.
I thought it was. So that would put it at about 27?
Does that seem right? I thought Wally helped us get the last one in. Current millage expires in 2025.
Oh.
So that's why I have it here. It's like, if we want a renewal, we should start planning about that now.
Yeah, I agree. I just think we need to coordinate with the other departments in the township.
For sure.
So that the BPAC millage is given due consideration, right? Like if you put a trail millage alongside the police and fire renewals, it's going to look pretty frivolous by comparison,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So, it'd be good to find one where there's not a lot of competition.
yeah, and I think what we could do in the meantime is figure out what we're asking for and at what rate, right? Are we asking for additional trail maintenance money, or are we asking for trail maintenance money where 15% of it can be used for, trail improvement, or trail creation or something? I think we maybe start looking at the language we're going to use and then how much we really need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taxes this year actually went down, which a lot of people may not notice, just because even though we had some new millages that were voted in last year with the school and everything, the tax rate actually went down for this last tax bill because some of our other older millages have fallen off, right? Like the judgment bond and things like that. So, so I think in the next year or two, people will start realizing, okay, my tax burden isn't quite what it was in 22 and 23, and maybe feel a little bit more inclined to look at a BPAC millage. But let's figure out what we're going to ask for and at what rate. And then once we do that, we have to make sure we educate the public about it, right? Don't just leave it to the winds. And we can't advocate for it. We can only educate, right? So listen, we're asking for 1 mil. That comes to this much money on a $250,000 house with a SEV of $125,000. You would pay $500 a year or whatever, And for that, we could give you this, and this kind of thing.
Well, we also gotta look at it realistically, how many miles of trail did we have when we originally got the millage?
Mm-hmm.
And how much has it increased?
With the rate of inflation and the cost increases, it's
Right.
drastic. It's we have to identify our functions also. So, everything that we do with it to educate the public what's being done.
So maybe we could, for next month's meeting, ask to maybe have Ross or Derek join us with the intent of having study session about millages. So, hey, we're going to start at 6:30 instead of 7:30 for a 1-hour study session. to talk about, what's going on with our millage, what's our way forward, what are our options, and then go from there. So we're not out here trying to invent the wheel when they've got plenty of wheels downstairs they can loan us. So
You can also inform us on what else they're considering
right.
putting out for vote.
Yep.
You heard anything about the Ferry Road Bridge over the Thoroughfare Canal?
I mean, nothing too specific. I do know that the intent is to retain that pedestrian lane on the side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the construction timeline is off the cuff or anything, though.
I was told that the next bridge that's on the target is the West Road over in Trenton. So I don't know how that's going to pertain to ours, but according to some Wayne County road workers that I've ran into on job sites, that's the high priority right now is that
Mhm.
bridge.
Yeah, I mean, I know like we were critiquing designs for the Ferry Road Bridge. Say, I don't know, probably at least 6 months ago, if not a little bit longer.
At
So-
one point, they were talking about raising it as well. I don't know whether that's still being a consideration. or not.
Yeah, I think they're raising it a little bit, but not a lot. But I just figured to ask. So our bike path bridge over the Thoroughfare Canal, that project, it looks like it's pretty much complete. You know, if there's anything, I saw them like doing a little bit of work on it a couple weeks ago, but,
They've had some repairs to do on it already. They follow the
spec,
spec. And it's just unfortunate that,
oh, can you turn on your microphone, Wes?
it was just unfortunate that during the construction, we didn't get a little more insight of what their timetable was to start it, so that we could have presented some of the requirements that would have benefited the township, as in actually matching the original design versus having this downsized on the top rail, the top plate, backer boards on the spindles so they don't get warped and get kicked out easily. There's just a lot of things that there was in the spec, but it wasn't the original design. And when it was in the processing of the awards and the bidding process, so I talked about it extensively about how to approach it, and it was decided let the thing go through, and then address the low bidder or the contract awardee of this is what we want, Wayne County. This is what we wanted to match. This is what you spec, but this is what we want, and get the 2x12 back on the top rail. So it just doesn't look like somewhat of an abortion being attached to it. Then also, it was our chance, if we was going to go to composite wood for all the bridge decks, it was the time then to have that section put down as composite versus wood. Now we got a brand new wood, so what we're going to do with the balance of the bridge? Are we going to keep it wood? We're going to go to composite? Are we going to make our own Frankenstein marriage in there?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's probably a study session into itself. But I think like we need to address the remainder of the.
That bridge needs to be addressed. Some of the deck boards are getting questionable, but we're in this time of the year at this point. My suggestion is let's put it together. We'll get estimate and then put it out for bid for the spring of the year, to be done next summer. It's no sense trying to jam that in right now and
Yeah.
and get it a poor job due to weather coming in.
Yeah.
Again, one of the things that I've been trying to test the waters on is in the past we were able to utilize the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, which had grants available for trail maintenance. And so maybe we can go back there again and be able to spend the same amount that we would have on for wood, but be able to, again, put in composite material or like whatever it is that we want. And so I'm hoping that we can utilize some grants, which would, again, stretch the $400,000 that we do have, in case that we do not get a millage renewal anytime soon, but also prove to the taxpayers that, again, we're trying to be as, we're trying to, pinch our pennies over here and stretch the dollar as much as we can, with a limited budget.
Well, I think if we don't get a millage renewal, or maybe renewal isn't the right word, if BPAC doesn't have a millage in the future, then these trails just become the general fund's problem, right? So it actually behooves township officials to help BPAC, get a millage. Otherwise you got $100,000 problem on your budget. So
Well, what we have out there now, we got 205 feet, feet of deck needs to be addressed.
okay.
70 feet of new deck that's gonna take twice the stain, because there's been nothing on it, so it's soaking a lot. And then we have, a total of 390 feet of new railing that they put on the south side of the approach coming up. Again, all new wood that's going to take a little extra stain this time around.
So as far as the staining, is that something that should be done this year? Or?
Yeah, I think we go to next year. That's one of the main things why I would say not, my recommendation not to try to shove it in this year.
Just to let everything dry in a little more.
It's dry enough to be stained right now, but it's not going to deteriorate the wood to go through one winter without a stain on it. It is pressure treated. It's just, that treatment is not something that can stand on its own for multiple years, like it's been done in the past.
Cool. As far as the Meridian Elementary School crossing, it'd be good to find out from the schools like when they plan to close Meridian.
Okay.
That Park Lane is active construction right now, so I don't know if they're planning to have all students in Meridian for the fall of this year. I mean, in Park Lane for this fall, or if it's going to be like a split year, or if it's going to be more out there. But
I can reach out to somebody on the school board.
I will say that the Planning Commission meeting last night, we were talking about Meridian Elementary and like a variety of different things that could be going in its place in the future. So again, if there's no active school there and there's not a lot of demand, maybe that's not a high focus in the future as far as the
I
crossing
assume,
itself.
The school owns that property, right? Not the township.
I believe so.
So they could sell it. They could do a development. I mean, we could maybe have some influence on it. Not we, but the township, I suppose. So, okay.
Does the school board have a timetable, or does it actually demo the building, or is it just?
I don't know. I'll reach out to one of the people I know on the school board and ask.
Jameson, do they have to demo that, or is that eligible to be used as something else?
From the last discussions I had with Val, they were considering other things. You know, community center, you know, retirement homes. So it doesn't. I don't think it has. At least last we talked, and this was very incipient. This was like last fall, actually. I think they were considering several things. So
So the repairs that they did a few years ago are holding on the foundation?
I have no idea.
Okay. Wes, regarding other bridges, do you know of any other maintenance that needs to be done?
No, the Meridian Bridge, was stained the same time, Grow Road was redecked, and the handrails, I think were stained that year as well. I think that was the timetable. So, well, how long ago was that? That was just last year, or was that 2 years ago already?
It might have been 2 years ago, but I don't know.
It's been 2 years, then the deck on Meridian should be put in the package for the bid along with the, whatever we're gonna do with Thoroughfare.
The deck on the Meridian Bridge?
Needs to be restained then.
Oh, restained, okay.
Yeah, it's got a couple spots too where there's chunks have come out of it, so it needs some attention anyway.
Got a couple of backboards, Jameson, that got scarred up.
Yeah, well, I mean, it almost looks like.
There's a railing. Last time I was out, it was a rail.
No, it's the deck. I don't know if the ice just busted some of it up or something last winter, or if somebody went out there with a. Yeah, it reminds me of when you pull a 2x4 using a pry bar where you hit it and then jerk it out. It kind of looks like that. I don't know if ice can do that or if somebody crashed their bike or something, but there's a couple spots that are like that.
Because the DPS uses the brush now.
Could have been that too.
The brush wouldn't do it. They used to use the bucket, and that would do it.
Maybe it was from last year when they were using the bucket or the year before or something.
They've
But
been using brushes for a few years.
I noticed it when I ran over it about a month ago and noticed there was a few spots where chunks were kind of pulled up out of it. So
If you ran over the bridge, that's probably the problem.
yeah,
Bad man in a Jeep, a Land Rover. Next item I had was traffic counters. So we've discussed that in the past.
I dug up my emails about that at the beginning of this meeting. I talked to Ross Ross is with DPS or public. Well, anyways, the DDA guy. So I talked to him. He said because it would be both DDA and DPS and BPAC, it really kind of becomes a Derek issue. I routed that email over to Derek, and I haven't heard back. He's busy, so I'm sure it just got buried under some other stuff. So I've got a note to re-engage him about the counter too.
Okay. Haven't had anything about the doggy pots or the benches, which is a good thing. Sidewalk replacement plan. So if you recall, maybe, I know it was a while ago now, Jameson, that this might even been before you were on here, but I know that we've talked about it since. And so sidewalks are not technically the domain of BPAC. You know, like we are responsible for the shared use paths, the bike paths, but like as trying to be a clearinghouse for everything, you know, bicycle and pedestrian related on Grozeal, say like, hey, you know, this is something that is of concern. So we have sidewalks that were put in when houses were developed in the 1960s or 70s. You have trees in place in front yards, like in the sidewalks where they probably shouldn't have been street trees because like they're silver maples or other things with gigantic roots that are near the surface. Been lots of upheavals. So, you know, needless to say, there's a lot of, you know, heaving of sidewalks and, you know, ADA issues or Americans with Disabilities Acts. That opens up either property owners or the township to potential lawsuits in the future, you know, should someone get hurt and you want to sue on that. You're going to say something, so go ahead.
Well, so I recently dealt with an issue about sidewalks a couple months ago, where a sidewalk had heaved, someone did get hurt, complained to the township, and I didn't realize this, but in Grosse Ile and many other Michigan communities, the homeowners are responsible for the maintenance of the sidewalk in front of their house.
Correct.
We could maybe make it a little bit easier on them by doing some kind of grant program, but I think that that would really be a new board concern, because it's not built into the current budget that was just approved a couple months ago.
Okay.
So I think you're looking at the 2024 board to kind of talk about that.
Gotcha. 2025 board?
Yeah. Well, they'll be elected in the fall 2024.
Oh,
You're
that's right.
2025.
I forget they take, they go into office in 2024.
Yeah, I think January 2025
Okay.
is when they take office. But we do have a drain grant program, so we could kind of model it on that. And it's come under some scrutiny from citizens, because disconnecting your drain system from the storm drain system, right, isn't something that most that's something that more affluent homeowners would do during a project, right? It's not something necessarily someone that's, you know, just trying to repave their driveway or, you know, have a new lawn put in is going to do. So I think we could look at that drain grant program. I don't know what its level of effectiveness has been, and maybe talk about either mirroring it or even, you know, trying to split the pot a little bit on it.
Drain grant that you're talking about, James, is that, you mean that $10,000 grant to take care of water discharge?
So-
Surface water?
No, so a lot of the older homes, their stormwater system is tied to the sewer system, right? So, and what that does is during major rain events, it causes our sewer system to flood. They can't handle all the water because it's not just handling wastewater, it's handling wastewater plus storm surge. So the grant program, I think it's $5,000 or up to 50% of the project to disconnect your storm drain system from the wastewater system. But again, that's not really something like you're not just going to wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to disconnect my storm drain system from the wastewater system, right? It's part of a new build or reconstruction or a big sewer overhaul. So I'd be curious, I guess speaking as a township board member, not a BPAC member, I'd be curious to see how effective that is, who's taking advantage of it, and if maybe the sidewalk grant would be a better use of the money. You know, a greater good for more people.
Is that drain program, is that funded solely like through township funds, or is it
It
something
is,
where
yeah.
it's coming from the state or the feds?
No, it's strictly township funds.
Okay.
And the intent is good, right? Because every time we have a wastewater discharge at our plant of partially treated wastewater, we're fined. So if we can get more people to disconnect from the wastewater system on the storm side, then we'll have less overflow events, less problems, right? So
Yeah. I mean, regardless of whether or not we're using those funds, I think it'd be good to just say like, hey, is the new township board interested in a program for sidewalks? If so, how do we fund it?
Sure, and then let them or, you know, whoever worry about how they want to fund it, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Point being is, you know, I think most people, I mean, again, like you said, it's very common in Michigan for like the property owner to own the sidewalks. But is it truly fair because there's so many people that use the sidewalks besides the property owner?
Yeah.
And, like we're funding bike paths that might be in front of someone's house. So like, is there a way that we can like help them out? So I appreciate you being succinct and being like right on the path of like where I was going with this.
Yeah, okay, so let's, we'll bring that up to the new board, I guess.
Another thing I have is Trail Towns designation. This was something that Dan Jaster, who used to be on the board, I keep saying board, on the commission, was leading up. So long story short is this DNR and like the state of Michigan have a Trail Towns designation that is good for branding purposes. The city of Trenton, went through this process. In the future, if we do want to pursue that, we can, but I think we got bigger fish to fry at the moment, unless there's somebody that's really interested in bird dogging that.
I think we could probably back burner that for now.
Okay. Should start planning for Walk to School Day, which is in October. I know that's a pretty light lift on our part now because we've got good partners within, PTA, PTO, all the parents groups, and the schools. So we can see if Christine is still interested in doing it on the BPAC side, and I think that one's pretty good to go. Walk, bike, drive safe. Just let you know that's a SEMCOG campaign. It's been changed to Safe Streets. We did a blitz in June, and like they will have more materials if for some reason we're interested in getting more bike lights or light up bracelets or armbands in order to promote better lighting for people walking and biking, especially when summer ends and it's becoming fall time. So if we're interested in that, I think the action item would be that someone either on this commission or someone else from the township make a request for those materials, because I'd feel more comfortable with someone else doing it as opposed to me, since it is my employer that puts them out.
Yeah, so we can, next month when we have a quorum, we could make a motion to request it. I don't think it has to go through the board since there's not any money being spent.
Okay. Police and fire open house. Like, are they planning to have one this fall at all, or is it?
I mean,
done for this
I
year?
imagine they are. They're pretty consistent with that.
Well, don't forget, they also have a millage thing, so.
True. Why?
It's what,
I think
October 10th usually when they do that, 10th and 11th?
Yeah, it's like somewhere in that first weekend around then. So, and they do have a millage renewal, so they may be all over that open house thing.
Yeah, so it might be good, like, hey, we get some of these materials for bike lights and such, that they might be able to pass them out at the open house.
Okay.
Calendar of events. That's something that might be good for us just to have a game plan for like each year. Like, hey, these are the things that we're going to be doing or participating in. But I feel like I'd like some help on that if someone was interested in it. So I can ask. If not, so I say it's a back burner. Next is bike safety class. We've tried that a couple times. Hasn't been that successful as of late.
I mean, maybe we just look at doing it in a year or two, maybe, when we can drum up some more. We got a little more manpower, drum up some more interest. If we're not getting any bang for the buck, then why spend the buck?
Ryan, what about the rec department offering the class?
we can look into that again. Okay. So I have on here new Groseal school improvements. So I know that, I think it was in the spring that I was a part of a meeting, like talk about the middle school and the high school, and heard some of their preliminary plans for continuing connectivity for people walking and biking in between.
Last I talked with them, that was their intent. I haven't seen like the final engineering drawings or anything.
Mhm.
But I don't see why they would have scrapped that. So I assume they're still in the works for that. And I can, when I talk to the school board member I know about what was I going to talk? When they plan to close Meridian, then I can also bring that up too.
Yeah. And it might be good, again, that could be something as we talk about for millages, and you say like, oh, well, maybe 80% is going towards maintenance, but we have 20% set aside to like, kind of like seed money for like other, newer projects. I would think that having a safe connection from the bike path to the sidewalks on Church Road to get people to Park Lane, so basically intersection improvements at Church and Meridian, like that could be an example of project of like, this is what we could use the funding on, and we'll use that funding to potentially leverage a grant in order to like redo the intersection or something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Last item I have on here is bike and scooter share, which I know you said about Trenton that they revoked their scooters.
Oh, I don't know that they did. I think it was Alan saying that.
Oh, okay. So do you know for a fact that they pulled them
It was a
and like?
private organization that
Mhm.
actually ran it, and I think they evaluated the risk factor, and they said, we're not so sure we want to do this, based on the liability it created, so.
Okay.
But I don't know what the official act was to either stop providing it or the city stopping it, I don't know.
Okay.
I can find out though.
I say, do you have a contact? Otherwise,
Yes, I do.
Okay.
What is our position as far as e-bikes on the path?
Well, I don't think we've developed an official one. And maybe that's something we can workshop a little bit, because I think we do. I mean, I think it depends on speed, right? Like
Some of these go like 40 miles an hour, I guess.
right. I mean, even like a good road bike going 25 miles per hour is way too fast for the path, right? So I think we need to, I don't know, maybe, I guess we can't post a speed limit because we probably can't enforce it, but we could make recommendations.
Well, right now, I mean, it's posted as non-motorized vehicles.
Right. Well, e-bikes are motorized vehicles,
Right.
So
but then
that's
you've
where I'm
also
going-
got
that's where I was
like
going
the
with things, yeah.
the elderly couple that rides their e-mountain bike 7 miles an hour, right? So I think
Yeah.
we need to really do some analysis to figure out how we want to.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the state of Michigan, and the DNR, set up rules allowing e-bikes on most paths within Michigan.
Okay.
But like the way it's set up is that there's 3 different classes of e-bikes. One where you have to continuously pedal in order to for the e-bike motor to work.
So it's a assist. pedal
Yeah,
assist.
it's a pedal assist. And I believe those can go like a maximum speed of 20 miles an hour. The next class is basically the same thing, with exception that you do not have to actually continue pedaling. You have a throttle.
Okay.
And so again, like, it's a little bit less like a bike, but at the same time, it's still not going that fast. The last class is where it has like a bigger engine in it and it can go faster, and I believe it can go to 30 or 36 miles an hour or something like that. Those ones are not allowed on shared use paths in general. So there's legislation at the state level. If there's something that we wanted to do locally, we could too. to like expand it. But I
look
do
at the-
agree, it's like, I wanna do something that we can actually enforce and that's, logical.
Yeah, let's look at the state legislation, see what they're doing, and maybe we can mirror that. And that's good for two reasons. One, because it's already legal, constitutional, and vetted, or at least hopefully. And the other item is if we mirror state regulations, the township can enforce them as our own ordinances.
Adopt them, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I'm not concerned about the elderly mountain bike rider. I had a couple youngsters in front of the house at night. Just fine. I mean, tires were squealing as they locked them up because they needed to stop.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's just way too fast bending the bike back when people are walking, etc.
I mean, I think some of this is just education in general. I mean, you see people riding bikes, the people that are, they look like professionals out there. They're in Lycra, like they've got the special shoes that lock into their pedals. It's like those types of people. They know that, hey, in general, they're not on the paths
I've never
because
seen them on the path.
yeah, it's like they're riding the road because they're going much faster than like all of the other path users. And as you increase the speed of of a bike or like any other type of small vehicle on those paths, it becomes a safety concern because they're not designed for that. They're designed for probably maximum of 20 miles an hour, and so like they don't belong on there. So I think it would be something where, okay, yeah, we can't control if people have e-bikes or not, but we can do education and try and explain like, hey, if you're going to use it, you need to go, you need to be smart and use certain speeds, and if you're going to break that, it's like, well, you should be actually like on the road instead. And then we have to figure out ways of protecting them when they're on the road as well,
Yes.
rather than just saying, hey, you're on your own. We want to keep everybody safe.
Right? Okay.
Cool. Is there anything that I did not bring up that people want to talk about tonight?
I think your list is pretty comprehensive.
Cool. Well, I will send this out in a text message and email so that way you have access to it. But just keeping a running list of like where we are with these projects. So thank you for your time here tonight. Appreciate it. And thank anybody that's been watching.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We close this meeting out at 8:55 p.m. Everyone walk, bike, drive safe.